Conservatives were first so upset that the M&Ms stopped being sexy that Tucker Carlson had to do an entire segment on the M&Ms losing their sexiness. And now we have a Ben Shapiro segment on M&Ms going woke again when M&Ms released a women M&M package, the feminine package, if you will. So let's talk about how woke M&Ms are ruining society, featuring Ben Shapiro.
In the stupidest news of the day, corporate America has basically decided that they're going to woke signal every so often and hope that conservatives don't get upset. This is the way that it works. So if you look at market studies, what they tend to show is that left-wingers buy based on their perception of how a brand acts. Now, they don't actually buy based on their perception of how a brand acts in terms of it being left-wing. So long as a corporation is just not openly right-wing, they assume that it's left-wing. But if a corporation ever is perceived as right-wing in any way, this means that the left boycotts it.
A couple things to talk about. First is the idea of corporations virtue signaling. This is indeed a common phenomenon that exists where essentially corporations have a profit incentive. Corporations are incentivized to signal values, to signal virtues, which are held by the majority of the public. This is actually just a direct result of capitalism. Capitalism incentivizes corporations to make the most profit, and the most profit would exist in signaling the default or most common values of a society. So if most people in a society believe that women are equal to men, then yeah, purporting pro-feminist messages as a company is profitable because you are appealing, at least nominally, to the values of the society. This is why, as gay acceptance improved, corporations started putting out a lot more pro-LGBT messaging. A lot more, oh, we support pride, we support the gay community. I did use the term nominal in name only. When I say that these corporations are putting out these virtues nominally, they're saying we support feminism in name only. They're saying we support gay people in Naomi. In Naomi. The only thing that they're doing is saying we support this thing. They're not actually contributing to feminist causes. They're not actually trying to influence the material conditions to improve queer rights. We know that corporations overwhelmingly lean right-wing in terms of how they actually funnel money into politics, into lobbying. We saw this, for example, with Disney. They have very pro-LGBT messaging, especially at like Disneyland or their Disney parks. They tend to be very queer-friendly in terms of kind of like the public persona that they front. However, Disney funneled a lot of money into right-wing politicians that eventually passed the Don't Say Gay bill in Florida. So it's very interesting to see how Disney will show support for gay people in their messaging, but then stab them in the back with how they actually fund money into politicians. This is what's known as rainbow capitalism, where it's, we support the thing in name only, but then behind the scenes, we're still going to support conservatives who are going to give us greater tax breaks because that's where the corporate incentive is. And then Ben Shapiro is bringing up that there exists data which shows that people who are more left-wing don't tend to support corporations as much that have right-wing values. Ultimately, I think that people should have the freedom of speech to vote with their money where they want to vote. If somebody wants to put forth conservative values like MyPillow or like Chick-fil-A, they have the freedom of speech to do so. But customers also have the freedom of speech to decide to put their money elsewhere. That's just a consequence of free speech. So it's really interesting. These two things that Ben are talking about, they are consequences, first of capitalism, the profit incentive to nominally support the values of the society, and then freedom of speech, the freedom of speech to, I can say my values, and then I can choose as a consumer whether or not I want to support those values. So that's really the reason behind these two phenomena existing.
There have been Harvard Business School studies showing just this. Meanwhile, conservatives, they just buy whatever they think is the best product, and they don't seem to care too much about who actually produces the product. So you have an asymmetrical warfare that is being played against corporations. Corporations virtue signal to the left, knowing the right is not going to boycott them or stop eating their products or whatever.
Yes, this is also true. It seems that conservatives are less likely to vote with their money than leftists. Now, what's really interesting is that if Ben is going to take issue with this, he is taking issue with capitalism because capitalism incentivizes the corporations to do this market research to see, okay, well, I see that, when I support leftist causes, the majority of the people support these leftist causes. The majority of people are feminists. The majority of people support gay rights. Yet if I were to support conservative causes, not only am I supporting the minority beliefs of people, the people that might be more incentivized to go towards my business because of me supporting these beliefs, well, they're less likely to give me their money because I'm conservative compared to liberals giving me money because I'm making these liberal claims. So yes, this is absolutely something that is inauthentic. Ben Shapiro is correct at pointing out that, yeah, there is this disparity here. This is creating this inauthentic thing. But the reason why corporations are incentivized to be inauthentic is capitalism. Capitalism creates that incentive. He will never make that connection, but that's the reason why.
And the right doesn't have enough alternative products yet. You do in some areas, like Jeremy's razors, right? You don't actually have to give your money to Harry's or Gillette. You can give it to somebody who doesn't hate your guts. Okay, but in many areas, there are no real alternatives that have been provided. And so what happens is that these corporations seeking to re-enshrine in the left-wing mind that they are their allies, they just do stupid woke virtue signaling for no apparent reason.
Ben Shapiro is making a correct statement. They are doing this woke virtue signaling, but there is an apparent reason. The apparent reason is that it's the profit incentive, because more people have those beliefs, because more people actually spend money along those beliefs. There is a profit incentive, a capitalist incentive in doing so. I think that there are a lot of times where conservative pundits will say things that are true on the face, but they will never go into the systemic reasons why these things are true. It's exactly why conservative pundits love to bring up 1350. They love to bring up, well, black people commit a disproportionate amount of crime, but they will never go into the systemic reasons why. They'll never talk about how over-policing primarily affects black neighborhoods. They'll never talk about how economic policies of the past, political, social policies of the past, things like redlining, put black people into worse socioeconomic systems such that they were less able to, pull themselves out of poverty and work towards a better life. And these systems in place lead to worse crime conditions. Crime is overwhelmingly motivated by socioeconomics, particularly if I don't have enough money to be able to eat, then I'm going to be more likely to steal food to need to survive. Crime is overwhelmingly caused by not having enough money. That's why this happens. And if we were to address these systems, then we can fix that. So when conservatives say things that are correct, like Ben Shapiro's doing here, what they'll do is they'll say the 1350. They'll say that, well, look at these corporations virtue signaling when it's meaningless, but they'll never go into the system behind it. They'll never go into, well, systemic racism is why there's this disproportionate crime. They'll never go into, well, capitalist incentives to fakely virtue signal the majority beliefs of your population are the reason why companies do this. That's exactly why this happens. They don't take the step to go from what is to why it is. We really want to analyze that why it is.
And it is high-level trollery. It is them doing something and then proclaiming that they're virtuous. And then when you point out that what they're doing is stupid, they're like, why are you even noticing we're doing it in the first place? So the best example of this lately is M&Ms is now going to release an all-female M&Ms candy package for a limited time to honor women who are flipping the status quo. The company announced the feminist forward candy wrappers on Thursday.
This is what is triggering the conservatives right now. It's an M&M package that has the green M&M, the purple M&M, and the brown M&M, characters which are all identified as women M&Ms in the M&Ms lore. You have to know a little bit about the M&Ms lore to understand why it is these three characters. And then flipping the status quo. That's literally it. This is the most bleak, virtue signally kind of feminist message you could ever do. Just say, look at that. Women are flipping the status quo. Me personally, I really don't think this is something that people should care about. Honestly, this is not any kind of like radical statement at all. This is really bleak. Look at women. Women are powerful too kind of messaging, which, yes, I agree that women are powerful too, but that doesn't really do anything to materially or systemically address issues that women face. I really just don't care whether or not the M&Ms on my package are men or women. It's chocolate candy. I don't really care about the gender of the chocolate candy I'm eating. And I think it is kind of weird to care so much. But let's see why Ben Shapiro cares so much about the gender of the candy he's eating.
The series will come in milk chocolate, peanut, and peanut butter varieties. Oh, I was getting afraid there. I'm glad that at least some of these M&Ms will have nuts to represent the transgender community. So you have to ensure that some of the M&Ms are actual trans women. We wouldn't want these to be cisgender M&Ms.
Ben Shapiro's interpretation is more woke than the M&M's actual interpretation. If we have trans women M&Ms that have nuts, once again, I do not care what is the gender of the chocolate candies I eat. And I really want Ben to justify why we ought to care about the gender of the chocolate candy we eat.
Mars Wrigley North America Chief Marketing Officer Gabrielle Wesley explained the move. Quote, women all over the world are flipping how they define success and happiness while challenging the status quo. So we are thrilled to be able to recognize and celebrate them. And who better to help us on that mission than our own powerhouse spokes candies, green, brown, and purple. Ah, so moving.
We are now 3 minutes into the video. So far, this has basically just been a 3-minute long ad for M&Ms. We haven't really talked about any reason why this should upset us. But please, I have been waiting for 3 minutes. Let's talk about why it is wrong for us to have women M&Ms. Please, Ben, please enlighten me. Why should I care?
So incredible. So unbelievably stupid. So women, do you feel represented now because of the green, purple, and brown M&Ms on the M&M package that you're guzzling down lonely in your apartment with your wine and your cat?
Yeah, I don't really feel represented by having M&Ms. I just don't really care about, like, the gender on my M&Ms. As far as representation goes, I think that representation in media, in stories, that goes a long way because people actually much more so see themselves in the media, in the stories. But please enlighten me why I should care about the gender of the M&Ms.
Amazing, amazing. But at least you feel represented. That's the important thing. Honestly, I'm mostly just happy because if it's an all-female M&M, I assume that it costs 77 cents on the dollar of what the regular M&Ms would cost, right?
I think that would actually have been a somewhat meaningful political statement to, like, actually put their marketing where their mouth is. Ben is highlighting that this messaging that the M&Ms are doing is very much on the face, nominal. It is not really genuine. If we're pointing out that M&Ms is disingenuous in doing so, this is because of capitalism. I think this is actually a very fair criticism to point out how they're being disingenuous, and they're being disingenuous because capitalism incentivizes them to do so. It incentivizes them to nominally say, we support women, while not really doing anything to systemically address the issues that women face. This is a critique of capitalism, although Ben is never going to make that connection.
Also, do not ask the female M&Ms for directions. It's just not going to go particularly well.
What? Is there a sexist joke about women not being able to give directions? I actually don't even know the sexist joke, but just go off with your sexist jokes, bestie. Okay.
Corporate America, man, filled with morons. But until there are alternatives, this is what we're going to have to suffer with. So I suppose we're going to have to launch Jeremy's Candy or something to fight with the woke corporate American infrastructure. So stupid. And the way this works is that if I make jokes about this on the show, if I talk about this, then the entire left-wing media infrastructure, he's joking about M&Ms. Why is he joking about it? Can't he? Why is he taking it so seriously? Why is he? What? No. He can't pay attention. Why is he making a big deal out of this?
I think that you absolutely can bring up this, but it's important to analyze why it's happening. Yes, it is true that M&Ms and all these other corporations will nominally support woke causes. Why do they do that? As we've explored here, it's because capitalism incentivizes them to appeal to the majority views of the population, at least in name only, and then secretly they can support the politicians whoever they want to support, which tends to be conservatives. If you look at the actual lobbying data we have on all these topics, corporations overwhelmingly lean conservative in terms of who they fund money into. But you are absolutely allowed to bring this up and to critique M&Ms, but let's be clear, Ben, you're critiquing capitalism here.
And that's what all these corporations are doing. They're woke signaling, and then when you notice the woke signal, they're like, why are you noticing that we're woke signaling? Well, what's wrong with you? Why are you even caring? Why do you even care? Huh? You should care more. But you shouldn't care.
I mean, leftists talk about woke signaling all the time. If you've ever seen the rainbow capitalism discourse, every single Pride Month, this discourse resurfaces where we talk about, hey, yeah, it is true that corporations are saying, we love gay people, we love Pride, we're going to do our rainbow logo for a month. But let's be clear, they don't actually support us in terms of receiving rights, in terms of receiving politicians who are going to materially improve our living condition. So you can absolutely talk about this. Look at this. I'm a leftist. I'm talking about this. I just would hope that you would explain, kind of your reasoning why you're talking about this, such as, hey, this kind of points out why capitalism encourages corporations to be two-faced, to be disingenuous in their woke virtue signaling. That's absolutely something you can talk about. But I just don't think Ben Shapiro's brought up any points that go any deeper. They don't really have any substance to talk about. See, here's the difference. I'm bringing some substance to this conversation. I'm pointing out why this is happening and some things that we could do to fix it. But Ben's just saying, look at this, women M&Ms. His analysis of the situation hasn't gone any deeper than that. I think that's the issue. It's just shallow analysis. It's just saying, I don't like it when women M&M. Okay, why?
Well, again, as I say, the important thing is that you feel represented by your M&Ms. Is that you don't have anything else to represent you, like family or a community, but you do have a corporate brand seeking to take money out of your pocket to make you fat.
Why is it that people are less connected to families and communities than they used to be? Is there any systems in place that might be causing that? Because there absolutely are, and there's systems we could address. Things like isolation under capitalism, when people have to work more than 40 hours a week just to make ends meet, when people, are isolated from their community, they're isolated from their family because they don't have things like paid family leave, they don't have things like paid time off, like basically every country in Europe gives people, typically it's like more than a month of paid time off per year just to be able to have personal days, and it doesn't impact the amount of money you make because these are paid days off. There are other countries out there that have policies in place which recognize the humanity of people, that recognize, hey, people need to have this time off to be able to socialize with others, to be able to see their family, to be able to, meet people, engage with the community, engage with society. People need to have a living wage to be able to live fulfilling, healthy, happy lives. If you want to have a family in America, it's really hard to do that when you have to work 2 jobs full time just to make ends meet. Meanwhile, if you had a living wage off of a job with reasonable hours, with decent time off, it's going to be a lot easier to go out and meet people, to start a family, to have the time that you need to raise your kids. So all Ben's doing here is saying, I don't like this thing, but he's not offering any kind of solution or any kind of thing we could do to address this. So far we've had disconnecting with family bad, not getting married bad, female M&M bad. But why are they bad? Are there things we can do to address them? I'm pointing out all these things, but Ben is just never going to make those steps because he just wants you to get mad at the M&Ms and stop thinking about this. But I think that we should think about the reasons why M&Ms do this, the reasons why capitalism encourages corporations to be disingenuous, why capitalism isolates us from our society, isolates us from our family, and how there are policies we could enact to address that, to make things better for literally everyone.
And giving you colorful M&Ms that represent female characters in the process. Exciting stuff.
No reason at all. He couldn't give any reason why we should be upset about M&Ms having women on them. I gave you actual reasons why you can be upset about this, how M&Ms will make this claim, but they won't actually do anything to support feminist causes. So please, Ben Shapiro, you gotta take the step deeper. But he knows why these things happen. He knows that it's caused by capitalism. He's just not going to say it because capitalism and all of the right-wing pundit money that he gets, the Daily Wire, it benefits him. Keeping the system in place where you have to work multiple dead-end jobs just to make ends meet, where you are isolated from your community, where you are isolated from your family, where you are stuck in this meaningless culture war around woke M&Ms rather than getting upset about billionaires stealing money from you and not giving you the time off, the living wages which you need to live a good life and to have a family. He doesn't want you to think about that because only the left is willing to address those problems.